Keegan sat upon his throne, tall and mighty. Long gone were the days when he would stand before the citizens at their own level, he now preferred to see them from afar. Whether this be for his own convenience or out of fear of what the people could do to him, he chose not to divulge. He even would send his dear wife, Aubrey, away from him at times, though she used to be his dearest companion. Today was different. The city seemed to buzz with a fervor of excitement, the people seemed to live as most would say to be normal. Keegan watched from his high seat as the gates were opened and a group of foreigners were welcomed into the castle like old friends. This was preposterous, as Keegan had made himself an enemy rather than a friend. Keegan heard the sound of many shouts of excitement and surprise, and his tension mounted. He didn't know anyone who could possibly make his servants and guards dare to defy his order of silence. With a great wind and a loud noise, the doors opened and in stepped two people, a man and a young girl, around 18. "What is the meaning of this?" spat Keegan. He stood quickly on the pedestal of his throne. "Who are you to be welcomed into my castle like old acquaintances of my guards? Who are you to sit on my daughter's throne?" countered the man, gesturing to the girl. The kingdom was supposed to be frozen until an heir had returned to Lunson. "Your daughter's throne? Foolish man, you don't really think you can take the throne from the rightful heir so easily, do you?" said Keegan, peering as closely at their faces as possible without moving. "Yes, my throne," said the girl. "My name is Lucinda Hencourse, and I am the heiress of Affloria. I am Prince Henry's first and only child, and thus I am his successor." Lucinda stepped closer and Keegan suddenly realized who the man was as Lucinda's words broke through to him. "You can't be Prince Henry," Keegan said, staring at Henry. "That man ran from his responsibilities more than 20 years ago. He betrayed me and my mother both." He continued to stare spitefully at Henry's disbelieving face. "You wouldn't dare return and show your face if you truly were him." "I haven't the faintest idea what you are talking about," Henry said. "I ruined no one's lives other than my own." "Pray tell what you mean by this." "This is worse than I could have imagined," Keegan said. "You don't even know what you did?" "If I did I wouldn't have asked. You left my mother alone and confused. You said you would marry her but you disappeared. You didn't even know she was with child, did you?" Henry's face went white as a sheet. He stared at Keegan with disbelief and then understanding. Lucinda looked from her father to Keegan, and though she would have liked to still say she didn't understand, she was smart enough to deduce what had happened. Long ago, Henry had met a beautiful maiden named Eva. They fell in love and Henry vowed to marry her as soon as he was able. Henry had planned to propose as soon as he had been confirmed as the next king of Affloria. But that day never came. He and his family were banished to another world, much different and more modern. Unbeknownst to Henry, he had left Eva with child, his firstborn son. Keegan had grown up thinking his father had abandoned them, knowing he would be leaving them to struggle. He grew knowing he could one day claim the throne and hopefully fix what his father had done. He had gone to a great school in another city and eventually been given a seat in the Royal Council of Affloria. After Keegan had made his influence strong within the council, he told them of his heritage and his inheritance. The council saw this as good change and crowned him as king. He was not a good king. 3 years had passed, and Keegan now is up in his castle alone and friendless. His people turned against him. The only thing keeping him on the throne was the fact that the people had no one else to turn to. Henry was disbelieving, but strangely he was happy. He had always wanted a son, and though this was not the way he had expected to have one, he felt an odd peace. "I have a son?" Henry asked faintly. "You are my son?" Keegan eyed him with the same disbelieving expression. "Is Eva here?" Lucinda turned her gaze upon her father sharply. "Father, how could you ask that?" she said to him, vexed by his question. "You are happily married, you needn't worry about past romances." "She is also married, and I have a half-sister?" "Hadley," Keegan replied. His commanding tone had disappeared and he now seemed calm. Henry sank into a chair by the door. "I want to stay here and get to know you, Keegan," Henry announced. Lucinda's eyes went wide with alarm. "But Dad, what about everyone back at home?" Lucinda asked him. "They are waiting, probably terrified that we won't return. We can't delay home. If you really want to get to know him," she gestured to Keegan, "and he feels the same, he can come with us." Keegan had now stepped farther from his throne, and was close to Lucinda and Henry. "I can't leave the kingdom," Keegan said. "As much as the people despise me, and would much rather see me hung, they need a leader, and who else can fill that role? If there was another, I would not be here now." Lucinda pondered this quietly as Henry and Keegan spoke more. "I can stay." "What?" "I can stay. I passed the test, I've proven I can lead, why shouldn't I stay?" Henry now looked frightened in a way. "But I can't return without you, what will your mother and grandmother think?" "You can tell them I am fulfilling my duty." A few days later, Lucinda was pronounced the new queen. Keegan and his wife returned to the other world with Henry as their guide. Henry and Keegan grew very close over the next few days, and though their past was messy, no other problems occurred. Lucinda reigned long and her heirs most certainly did not make the same mistakes.